It's April 21st here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the U.S. reaffirming its defense commitment to South Korea. The White House says Washington takes its defense commitment to Seoul, quote, very seriously. The latest assurance follows Russia's threat to arm North Korea if South Korea provides lethal aid to Ukraine. Producer prices here in the country rose again last month, with service and industrial goods prices going up. The central bank says uncertainties linger around producer prices due to global oil prices and a rise in public utility bills. SpaceX's first Starship lifted off for a historic test flight, but exploded just minutes after its launch in Texas. Musk said his company learned a lot and teased another test launch in a few months. Washington says it takes its defense commitment to South Korea seriously after Russia threatened to arm North Korea if South Korea sends military aid to Ukraine. Our Lee Seung-jae starts off.
Following Moscow's threat to arm North Korea if South Korea sends lethal assistance to Ukraine, National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said Thursday that Washington takes its defense commitment to Seoul very, very seriously, stressing the treaty alliance between the two allies. Kirby also said that the U.S. is grateful for the support that South Korea has already provided for Ukraine, noting that Seoul has provided some $100 million worth of humanitarian aid assistance to Kyiv. He added that South Korea has also been very vocal in supporting Ukraine and speaking out against Russia's aggression. Kirby went on to call South Korea a terrific ally, terrific friend. During the press briefing, he also mentioned the upcoming state visit by President Yoon, in which Kirby said the two leaders will most likely discuss a wide range of issues, including the war in Ukraine. President Yoon, during an exclusive interview with Reuters earlier this week, hinted that Seoul could possibly shift its policy of no lethal weapons assistance to Ukraine. According to Yoon, South Korea may have no option but to provide more than humanitarian assistance to Ukraine if Russia conducts large-scale attacks on civilians. In response, Moscow threatened to supply Pyongyang with weapons and also warned that providing military aid to Ukraine would mean Seoul becoming involved in the conflict to a certain extent. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, President Yoon is off to the States next week for the ROK-US summit. The trip will include not only a sit-down with his American counterpart Joe Biden, but also his speech at Congress. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
President Yoon jets off to Washington, D.C. next Monday for a state visit hosted by U.S. President Joe Biden. This is the first state visit by a sitting South Korean president in 12 years, and according to the first deputy director of the National Security Office on Thursday, the two presidents are set to meet on multiple occasions.
President Yoon and President Biden will spend a long time together through multiple events, including the White House's official welcoming ceremony, the summit, and state dinner, and will congratulate each other for the success of the bilateral alliance of 70 years and exchange views of its future advancement.
Yoon's schedule so far shows that the summit will not be the first time the two meet, as Biden has invited Yoon for a reception on Tuesday evening, the day before Wednesday's summit. On Thursday, Yoon will address Congress on liberal democracy and share his blueprint for the future of the bilateral alliance. The speech will be followed by lunch at the State Department, hosted by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and State Secretary Antony Blinken. A briefing by top U.S. military officials on the global situation is also to take place on that day. Before returning to Seoul, he'll stop by Boston to meet academics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology while also hosting a panel session at Harvard University's Kennedy School on Economic Freedom and Liberal Democracy. The Deputy Director of the National Security Office says he expects the summit to ramp up the defense readiness of the two countries while further solidifying the extended deterrence. He added that economic security cooperation will strengthen, especially regarding supply chain issues. And lastly, the summit will set the basis for stronger support of exchanges among future generations from the two countries.
These are a few expected results from the summit, but the most important aspect is reaffirming that the bilateral alliance's history and the present are based on the shared values of the two countries.
This will be the 6th time President Yoon meets President Biden since taking office last May, and it comes while there are a number of significant issues. Security issues regarding North Korea's increased missile provocations and the prolonged war in Ukraine. Economic issues regarding the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and Chips and Science Act. While different results will come from the two leaders' talks, the most significant, according to an official at the presidential office, will be decided by the people. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon has also called on the global community to take urgent action to mitigate climate change. Attending the U.S.-led Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate through a video conference on Thursday, Yoon reaffirmed South Korea's commitment to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. He promised to speed up technological innovation and take part in global efforts to reduce the use of carbon. MEF economies account for roughly 80% of world GDP and global greenhouse gas emissions. As a global pivotal country, Yoon said South Korea will expand the supply of green vehicles, increase the use of low-carbon shipping, share know-how on forest restoration projects, and expand official development assistance to help reach climate goals. South Korea's foreign ministry summoned the Chinese ambassador to South Korea and strongly protested a comment from Beijing that said South Korea should not meddle in Chinese affairs. Our Lee Si-hoo reports.
South Korea's foreign ministry says it summoned the Chinese ambassador on Thursday to strongly protest Beijing's criticism of South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol's remarks on Taiwan. That's according to First Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs Chang Woo-jin speaking to reporters on the same day. Chang said that China's foreign ministry was guilty of serious diplomatic discourtesy by denouncing Yoon and calling on South Korea to refrain from meddling in Taiwan issues. This move comes as President Yoon, in an interview with Reuters on Wednesday, said tensions in Taiwan occurred due to forceful attempts to change the status quo and voiced opposition to such change. Yoon also stressed that the issue is a global matter that goes beyond China and Taiwan, like the issue of North Korea. Regarding the comment, Beijing's foreign ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin on Thursday said that, quote, the resolution is a matter for Chinese who do not need to be told what should or should not be done, emphasizing that South Korea should not meddle in the matter. Hours after Beijing's comments, South Korea's foreign ministry hit back, saying the comments by the Chinese foreign ministry were unspeakable. Seoul's foreign ministry's Chang Woo-jin said that China should work to prevent unnecessary disturbance in the bilateral relationship between the two countries over the matter. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
Latest on Terraform Labs co-founder Kwon. The 31-year-old crypto fugitive was indicted by prosecutors in Montenegro over document forgery on Thursday. Also charged with document forgery is the company's chief financial officer Han Chang-jun, who was also arrested last month after being caught trying to board a flight to Dubai alongside Kwon with fake passports and documents. Prosecutors have also proposed further extending the detention period for both Kwon and Han. Now, an extension will further delay extradition proceedings. Montenegrin authorities have already stressed that the extradition process will only start after the document forgery case is finished. It feels like only yesterday that we were first introduced to 4G, and already 5G has become something that we take for granted. Now, we're not done yet. The era of 6G is on the way. For more, we're joined by Professor Joseph Jorna from Northeastern University this morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Professor, first off, what is 6G? I mean, how much more advanced and intricate is it than its predecessor 5G in terms of speed, efficiency, and significance? Tell us.
Excellent. So 6G, at the end of the day, is a collection of technologies that are supposed to, on the one hand, yes, give us faster data rates, the possibility to collect more and more devices, and to give you a number. The target that we have in mind is 1 terabit per second. That's 50 times faster than 5G on a good day, okay? But beyond data rates, what we're also looking is at making our communication systems aware of where they are. So as important as communications, in 6G, we talk about sensing in such a way that, for example, your cell phone can understand its surroundings so it can optimize the communication. So ultimately, you can make things more reliable and more energy efficient. And of course, whenever there is understanding, learning, there is artificial intelligence. So in 6G, we're going to see, a revolution in the hardware and a revolution in how we use that hardware, the software. That's what we expect.
Sounds amazing. Now, 6G is still under development, and how close are we to 6G being commercialized and used? How far has 6G tech development come so far?
Indeed, it seems far, but it's not that far. So just to give you some temporal reference, the first version of 5G, the first standard for 5G, was approved in 2018. And actually, it was in South Korea. The first commercial deployments were in 2019.
Right.
Usually, we have 10-year gaps between generations. So strictly speaking, we would expect to have a standard by 2028. Of course, we don't know if that will happen. So if we say 2030, that's kind of safe. Now, how far are we? Well, as I said, 6G, it's a collection of technologies. Some of them, for example, in my group, we have been developing for over 15 years now, which sounds kind of a lot, right? So, for example, in a university, we do fundamental research that we don't know if it will work or not. Well, today we know that some of these enabling technologies are ready, and I do expect them to see them in 5 years, maybe a little bit more, but that's how far we are.
Right. You've already slightly mentioned the usefulness of 6G, but is there a particular function or practical implication that you personally look forward to? Is there one?
Yes, there is. So I honestly believe that 6G is going to be the technology or collection of technologies that will help to finally take off when it comes to immersive, virtual, and extended reality, as well as holographic communications. For some people, that sounds a little bit of science fiction, but actually the technologies are there, and I do expect them to see them, and I do hope that this is what will eventually make 6G take off. These experiences come under different names. I'm sure you've heard about the metaverse or different virtual platforms. You need a way in which everyone, without needing extremely expensive hardware or connectivity to be able to use it. So that's one of them. And when I think of immersive reality or holographic communications, I think not just of entertainment. I think of, for example, changing the way in which we teach in universities or even in high schools, or to change the way in which, what remote working means. If I cannot just see into what's happening on the other side, but even potentially virtually touch what's on the other side, I can change the way we work. I can change the way we take care of healthcare. Of course, all these things beyond entertainment, which usually is what ends up making the money.
Right. Plus, we can't get enough of technology, right?
I guess that we cannot. We're good at marketing, yes.
Right. But before we let you go, Professor, why do we even need 6G? Is not 5G good enough? I mean, and also, will there be 7G, 8G, and 10G and beyond?
I'm afraid that the answer is yes. There will be many more generations. So for the first part of your question, first of all, if we suddenly, all of us try to, let's all jump into the metaverse and let's have this interview, not just the two of us, but all the audience from this TV channel in the metaverse, the network infrastructure would not be able to support it. And that's the type of experience that we're trying to change. No? Let's move the news to an interactive session with everyone sharing the same virtual space. So we need 6G. Now, after 6G, what do we expect? Absolutely, there's going to be 7, 8, you call it. And for example, as I mentioned before, if 15 years ago, we were developing some of the technologies that finally we will see in 6G. As you can imagine, in a university where what we're doing is very fundamental research, we're already looking into what may be in 7G. And I don't want to scare people, but for example, think of a 7G application as the opportunity to connect to the network, to the metaverse, to wherever you want, not necessarily by using a cell phone with your hands or looking at a screen or talking to a device, but actually maybe having a direct brain-to-internet connection. I know it sounds scary, but till 7G, we have 15 years, so things can change a lot.
Right. All right. Thank you, Professor Jornet. Thank you so much for joining us this morning all the way from Boston.
Thank you for the invitation. Have a good one.
You too. Wholesale prices in South Korea rose for the third straight month on a rising cost of industrial goods and services. According to the Bank of Korea on Friday, the producer price index in March increased 0.1% on month, with chemicals and restaurant and lodging services leading the rise. The agriculture and energy sector saw a drop though. On an annual basis, the overall producer prices were up 3.3%. Despite annual inflation remaining high, the annualized rate of price increases has now been slowing for 9 straight months. The PPI is closely watched as a key inflation indicator because of its impact on consumer prices. Today, April 21st, is Science Day here in Korea, and one of the country's biggest IT exhibitions is back here in Seoul. Our Kim Jung-sil gives us a glimpse of most up-to-date K-technology.
This year's World IT Show presented some of the most talked about state-of-the-art technologies like this urban air mobility, or UAM, that could be used as a flying taxi in the future. The aircraft is being developed by South Korean telecommunication service provider SK Telecom and America's Joby Aviation as part of an exclusive partnership. SK Telecom will be in charge of connecting the aircraft's network.
Behind me are visitors trying out the demo ride experience. This UAM aircraft hopes to fly across the Seoul sky by 2025.
Many lined up to experience this transportation of the future.
I thought this can help shorten transport times and solve traffic congestion issues. I also thought it would be useful in the future if the technology can be adapted to real life.
In a booth nearby, Samsung's Galaxy S23 mobile phone proudly showcased its eco-friendly technology of using discarded fishing nets to make some of the inner parts of the phone. Hyundai Motor's latest update to its electric vehicle, Kona, on the other hand, focused on making its automobile more like a home. The car can apparently provide electricity to home appliances such as this fridge, monitor, and laptop computer for up to 4 days. But this year's World IT Show wasn't just about big conglomerates. It also gave a platform to startups as well. A 4-year-old startup, Wata, for example, has already won 3 CES Innovation Awards with its technology to visualize and track warehouse storage.
There are hundreds of thousands of shelves in a warehouse, so it takes a long time to find where anything is. But with our digital twin technology, it's easier and faster for workers to find where things are.
All the companies we spoke to said they hope their technologies can change the lives of people not just in South Korea, but in the world. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in the United States, where SpaceX's Starship, its most powerful ever rocket, exploded in midair on its maiden test flight. The 33-engine rocket suffered what SpaceX called a, quote, rapid unscheduled disassembly about 4 minutes into its flight. Starship had blasted off from a launch pad in South Texas at around 9:30 a.m. local time. About 2.5 minutes into the flight, its heavy rocket booster failed to separate, causing the rocket to spiral out of control. This triggered onboard detonations that destroyed the rocket. Despite its failure to reach orbit, SpaceX engineers called the launch a success. It allowed them to gather large amounts of data to be used in the next launch attempt within a few months. The Starship is SpaceX's next-generation launch system. It's designed to take humans and cargo to the Earth orbit, the Moon and Mars. Now, looking to Twitter, where thousands of celebrities and other influential figures, from Beyonce to the Pope, are losing their verified status. Starting on Thursday, the iconic blue tick has been removed from accounts without a paid subscription. Individuals wanting to keep or gain a blue tick need to pay $8 per month, while organizations need to pay $1,000 for a gold verification mark. The platform has undergone a series of changes since Elon Musk bought the company in October last year. Some changes include restricting voting on Twitter polls to users with a verified account, and only those with paid Twitter accounts will have their tweets featured on the recommended For You page. Now, lawyers for Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin said on Thursday that criminal charges against him over the fatal shooting of a cinematographer have been dropped. The involuntary manslaughter charges followed the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins, who was killed after Baldwin fired a live round from a prop gun on the Rust movie set in New Mexico in October 2021. Now, Baldwin has maintained that he was unaware that the gun contained a live round. A film armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, faces the same charges, which her lawyers expect to be dropped soon. The announcement comes less than 2 weeks before the trial was due to start. Filming of the movie resumed on the same day. And finally, thousands of people gathered near the remote west coast Australian town of Exmouth on Thursday local time to catch a rare solar eclipse. It lasted 62 seconds and created a 40-kilometer wide shadow. The eclipse was a rare hybrid type that has not been seen since 2013. Such eclipses create what looks like a ring of fire when the moon moves in front of the sun, which then turns into a total solar eclipse when the sun's light is completely blocked.
Good morning. Unseasonably warm weather in the south comes to an end. Temperatures all returning to what we would normally have around this time under sunny skies in most regions. So we would have had perfect late spring weather if only yellow dust wasn't about to blow into the country. Right now, we are breathing in good air, but as the day goes on, yellow dust will gradually cover the whole country. This time, eastern parts of the country are forecast to be blanketed with very bad dust levels. It will be dusty on Saturday as well. Western parts of the country will be warmer, while East Coast regions will have cooler afternoon temperatures along with easterly winds. So Ulsan and Gangneung will see a high of just 17 degrees. Meanwhile, Jeollanam-do and Gwangju could see some spotty rain between late this afternoon into the evening. Looking ahead, wide temperature differences between lows and highs will continue, while cooler air moves in next Tuesday with nationwide rain in the forecast. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Thanks for staying with us.
Busan, Korea is already reaching the entire world. Like ocean waves that travel far and wide. It's Busan, the perfect World Expo city. Transforming our world, navigating toward a better future. World Expo 2030, Busan, Korea.
대한민국 에너지의 미래. 대한민국 에너지의 미래. 한수원이 만드는 중. 대한민국 에너지를 한수 업. 한국 수력 원자력. 원자력 수출도 업.
23번 이호연님.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives for all. New Lotte, the power of a better world. New today, better tomorrow. Lotte.
We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day. We are
News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's April 21st here in Seoul. I'm Shin, and this is News Generation, where we make the news at Arirang's very own open studio. Every morning, we'll discuss the top issues and latest current affairs affecting people in their 20s and 30s. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Park Gi-hoon.
Thank you for having me.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. And we're going to start with our news feed, a news feed which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Now, police have summoned the grandson of the late former President Chun Woo-won, over using narcotics. Now, this was after the National Forensic Service identified various drug usage in his system. Last month, police investigated Chun over suspected illegal drug use after he flew in from New York, and Chun Woo-won came to Korea to apologize on behalf of his grandfather for the hundreds who died in the 1980 pro-democracy movement in Gwangju. Moving on, there will be a new road traffic law kicking off this Saturday, which will obligate drivers to stop completely before making a right turn at intersections. The 3-month grace period has come to an end, which means drivers who violate this rule will now face fines of up to $150 or detention for up to 30 days. Now, ending with some unfortunate news, K-pop star Moonbin, a member of the boy band Astro, was found dead in his home in southern Seoul on Wednesday night. Police suspect the 25-year-old took his own life, but are still conducting an autopsy. Now, Moonbin had been an actor and model before joining Astro in 2016. His sister Moonsua is also a K-pop singer in this girl group, Billy. Now, waves of condolences spread on social media, and many were devastated to see yet another K-pop star take their own life. In 2017, Jonghyun, a member of one of South Korea's biggest boy bands, SHINee, committed suicide. Minwoo of boy band 100% died at home of suspected suicide. And Korea also lost K-pop stars Holly and her close friend singer and actress Kuhara. So it's not the first time we've heard such upsetting news about K-pop stars taking their own lives, but it's hard every single time to believe this is true. Many fans were shocked to see their beloved idol, who always smiled and seemed happy to the point that they energized others, now gone. So I would now like to bring our newsfeed here to the studio. So Ki-hoon, how did this headline hit you?
You know, I was quite shocked to hear this news. You know, it's always tragic to see so many young people end their lives due to whatever reason. And as much as the fans are in shock, I think his family members will be in so much pain right now. And my deepest condolences goes to them. And I think everyone has a right to live a happy life, no matter how much spotlight you receive or you don't receive. And, you know, people go through hard times, and it's all about how you manage the stress and the hard times. And if you're, you know, having kind of like mental health issues, it's always okay to seek professional help. It's okay to do that, but rest in peace.
Rest in peace, for sure. And that's why fans called for better management by music labels and entertainment agencies, especially since it's not the first time to see these stars commit suicide. And Walter, what do you think are the reasons behind such tragedy, and how do you think we can better prevent this from happening ever again?
Yeah, so it's obviously such a sad story, right? I mean, ordinary people also take their lives on a daily basis here, but it's just these larger-than-life characters that we see on the news that really affect us. I remember when Solly passed away, actually, and I was honestly devastated. It really ruined like my day because she was a K-pop idol that I really liked to watch. But we just can't point to one reason why things like this actually happen. For a person to take their own life, it's really not an easy thing to do. It's very, very, very difficult. It takes a lot of pain. It takes a lot of hurt to do so. So there are many reasons usually, but in regards to K-pop idols in the past, at least, we know that we've seen such like online trolls, or what I call cowards, in this area, and the hateful comments. I mean, I was shocked to hear that in Korea there is a lot of what they call anti-fan groups. I mean, who spread hate to those fans that they don't like, the idols that they don't like. I think it's just an extreme waste of time. How do we stop this from happening? I mean, that's the thing that we need to start looking at. I mean, I know when Solly passed away that they were trying to introduce Solly's law to stop these people from, you know, bringing out these hateful comments, but unfortunately it didn't pass.
Right, a simple mistake or just doing it for fun could take the lives of other people, and that's a grave matter that needs much more attention. And that was our news feed for this Friday. Moving on, we're going to be talking about today's discussion topic. Every April 21st is Science Day in Korea, established in 1968. This day aims to promote the importance of science in our daily lives. And that's why we've decided to talk science and IT today. To find out more, take a look at the screen.
As we're seeing technology advance to the point that AI is writing our essays and robots are serving our food, a fundamental question seems to be posing concern. Can robots and artificial intelligence replace us? More specifically, could AI replace millions of humans in the workplace? Investment bank Goldman Sachs back in March released a report saying that artificial intelligence could replace some 300 million full-time jobs, even for administrative and legal professions. Generative AI like ChatGPT and similar AI tools are also threatening coders and computer programmers that are currently in high demand. That's because AI is good with numbers, is much quicker and more efficient to manage. In light of Science Day in Korea, NewsGen aims to answer 3 questions. 1. Though it's groundbreaking to see how far science has come, what are some drawbacks from rapidly developing tech? 2. What are some occupations that could disappear in a few years' time due to AI? 3. How should our generation prepare for even more scientific advancements? Specifically, how should we prepare ourselves when the job market completely changes from AI's growing presence?
So today is Science Day here in Korea. We've seen a lot of scientific developments here in the country as well. Korea will launch its homegrown Nuri space rocket on May 24th, and this will be the 3rd launch of its kind. Also, a group of researchers recently developed a fine needle patch for diabetics, and the medicine melts and enters the skin through microneedles. And this is just a few of the many developments we've been seeing in science and IT. And what were some scientific advancements that we've seen this year that caught your attention the most, Ki-hoon?
You know, there are quite a few in Korea because we are at the forefront of science and IT on a global scale. But just to expand on what you mentioned earlier, Yen, South Korea became the 7th country in the world with the ability to put a satellite weighing over a ton into orbit, just like with Nuri space rocket. Despite the failure in the first launch in 2021, the second one was a huge success in 2022, and many are highly anticipating the 3rd launch scheduled for May 24th. And I think this is an amazing achievement in the Korean space industry. However, every page has 2 sides, and of all scientific developments, artificial intelligence was especially eye-catching for me for both good and bad reasons. Some people voiced their concerns within the job market that the growth of artificial intelligence will take over their jobs.
Right.
So to give you a better understanding, let's take a look at the screen. An online survey platform, The Poll, asked the question, will artificial intelligence lead to fewer jobs? Among 26,860 people, almost 20% said not sure. Around 20% said increase. Just the type of job will change as we have seen in previous industrial revolutions. And almost 60% responded to a decrease in jobs due to AI. So more than half are already thinking AI will replace manual jobs, which could be a worrying sign unless we take appropriate action to meet these changes.
I see. So as you mentioned just there, we're going to be talking about the biggest question that always seems to be following AI development. It's whether AI will be able to replace human beings in the workplace. So what are some occupations that seem to be at risk, Walter?
Well, I guess as technology advances, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more prevalent in the workforce, at least. While this can bring about many benefits, it also poses a threat to certain jobs or occupations that rely heavily on repetitive tasks, and that can be easily automated. Now, one occupation that is particularly at risk is that of a data entry clerk. Now, with the development of advanced OCR, or optical character recognition, technology machines can now read and enter data faster and more accurately than humans. Now, this could lead to a significant reduction in the need for human data entry clerks. Now, for the first time in my life, I sounded very smart. But here's the thing, that wasn't me.
I thought so. It
didn't
sound like you.
It didn't sound like me, did it? Because that was actually a speech written by ChatGPT.
It wasn't you then.
It wasn't me. I cannot come up with something so sophisticated as of that. I asked the program, write me a brief script on what are some occupations at risk of because of AI. And that's what I came up with.
And the generative AI did your job perfectly.
Yes, and now it's going to be used all the time. No, but let's take a look at the screen on what other jobs could be in danger. So if we're going from the top left, going clockwise, well, let's say technology, the tech industry, computer programmers, coders, software engineers, data analysts, media industry, journalists, advertisers, writers, and even entertainers. Teachers, professors, finance industry as well, financial analysts, insurance planners. I mean, it seems like a lot of those big, important jobs are at risk.
And local media outlets have done surveys to find out that these jobs are at risk, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, I see. And Kyun, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm actually quite concerned and worried that 2 of my jobs were on the list.
And they are? What are the jobs? Can you tell us?
Yeah, like writers and teacher as well. So
Right.
I'm kind of a little worried. But, I want to stay a little positive because, this transition of job replacement from AI will take some time, hopefully, or even generations, as we have seen from previous industrial revolutions. And I'm sure there will be like a fine balance where more new job opportunities will arise with the replacements.
I see. And as I saw on the graph as well, they mentioned journalists.
Yes.
And that caught my attention as
Bye,
well.
Ian.
Oh, does that mean I'm gone?
Nice knowing you.
Oh my gosh, because journalists, panelists, broadcast
Yeah, I
writers.
know.
So does that mean everyone's going to be replaced by AI here in the studio, Walter?
Well, I definitely think there are aspects of our job as anchors, journalists, panelists, or entertainers that could be taken over by AI. For example, voiceover. And we know because we've done that episode where you use a voiceover. Editing, writing, taking Ki-hoon's job, for example. So with writing, though, we have to be careful still because we are, even though all these example chat GPT passages come out really, really sophisticated, there are also malicious texts that have been coming out. So we're not actually quite there yet. We're in the early stages, believe it or not, even though it seems to be very, very advanced.
Right.
However, at the end of the day, I think people tune in to see people like Yeon and Ki-hoon. Right?
Aw, that's a really good way to end this off.
And they don't really want AI. Even though there are AI entertainers, we love personality. We watch shows because of the people. We don't watch shows so much so for the content as well. However, I think personality is more important than the content itself in some cases.
Yes, I'm really hoping our viewers are watching because of us. All right, what about you, Kyun? What are your thoughts on this?
I am sure that jobs can be replaced by AI, but just like what Walter just mentioned, we as humans have emotions and preferences.
Definitely.
Meaning that, we react differently to different people, whereas AI hasn't come to that stage where they show real human emotions. But if they do, it'll be quite scary. So I'm not really looking forward to that. And like what Walter said, I'm sure our viewers want to see the real human Yeon and the real human Walter. Maybe robot Ki-hoon they might prefer, I'm not sure, but I just don't want to see avatar versions of you guys.
Yeah, and definitely at the end of the day, you have to realize that AI is being made and managed by human beings. As you mentioned, Walter, ChatGPT might seem to be legit, always providing the right information, but it's database based on what human beings make. So there's mistakes in and there. And also, we need to understand that AI is different from humans. We as humans should understand that first.
Yes.
So then what do you guys think are the pros and cons of AI helping or possibly even taking over certain occupations?
I mean, it really does depend on the job itself. But let me give you an example where AI has become helpful recently, at least. New York City recently released 2 security policing AI robots. Now, one of those robots is called DigiDog. Now, DigiDog has the duties of entering high-risk situations, example, like an active shooter situation. So we don't want to put real people in those situations at all. So if DigiDog could be put into that situation, it's obviously better for us. I know a lot of people have been pushing back on this, saying that it's over-policing. However, I think if we can reduce the risk of death amongst our so anywhere in the workforce, it's a positive thing.
Right. And what about you, Ki-hoon?
AI can definitely save us time and effort. Manual labor is one example where robots and machines can become much more efficient and effective than humans, as long as they're managed well, of course, by humans.
Right.
And the only con that I worry about is robots taking over the human race, like we've seen in some science fiction movies. So I'm not really looking forward to that. And hopefully it doesn't become reality.
And in order for that not to happen, I think you mentioned a good point. The core should be human beings. In AI, the core should be human beings in there. And we've just listed a few jobs that we think could be replaced by AI in the near future, and also about the pros and cons this technology provides. But to find out exactly which occupations are most at risk and how AI could affect the job market, we're going to be hearing from an expert, and we'll include him right after this. So we're now going to be hearing about the pros and cons of AI and how worried we should be here in the studio about how this technology could affect our jobs. So let's include Park Ju-young, director of the Post-AI Institute at KST University in Korea. Great to have you here with us, Ju-young.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
All right, so I would like to ask you the first question, Ju-young. So you heard us list a few occupations we expect to disappear or be greatly affected with the bigger presence of AI. And what did you think about our forecast?
Yeah, you raised many valid points, and occupations do face challenges. So while certain jobs could be eliminated, many jobs still utilize those human abilities that AI simply doesn't possess. So one of them is understanding individuals' personal needs, experiences, and social contexts, which are by definition human, right? So jobs will likely change, but not completely disappear. You mentioned teachers in the list of endangered jobs, but if you try to remember your favorite teachers, they were not just conveyors of knowledge, right? It's the training of social skills, fostering of individual talents that what our good teachers are there for. And you also lump teachers with the professors. But rest assured, after having played around with ChatGPT, I sleep well at night knowing my job is very secure.
All right, I totally agree, because you have that personal connection you build with actual humans compared to technology. And Walter, any comments on this before you go on to the next question?
I don't know. There were some teachers I wish were robots rather than real life. There was a lot of teachers I grew up with who I didn't like them at all, and maybe an AI robot would have been better.
It could have been.
But yes, what do you think would be the biggest change in the job market with more developed artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so having said that, AI actually has come a long way in the automation of certain aspects of human work. So those who are able to use them will have an advantage for sure. For instance, AI can look up information and perform simple calculations very quickly. So it will be a huge time saver for those who depend on it. So the separation between those who can use AI effectively and those who fall behind might widen for this reason, which is a warning for people who actually are kind of falling behind. But overall, I think using AI will be beneficial because ideally it can free people to be more creative and put more effort and time into things that machines cannot do. So the hope is that the whole job experience will improve because we can focus on more what humans want from the job, the fun part, and also the good teachers who can't be replaced by AI.
All right. And Kwon, do you have any comments or thoughts or questions you would like to ask Ju-young?
I mean, like what Ju-young said, as long as we can keep up to the technology and with the people who are lagging behind, we can kind of educate them as well. I think everyone can really utilize, AI to its maximum. So my last question is, this concerns a lot of people, but especially the new generation, because we're becoming the primary workforce. So how do you think we should prepare for a time when AI could take up most jobs or be side by side with us?
Great question. So I would say that any generation faces such challenges. So the key is knowing the nature of the challenge and changing it into an opportunity for new things. So the one area that is benefiting from AI and other modern technology is training of a new generation of mechanics, because it allows you to simulate very expensive environments where you can start to learn the skills. And learning new skills, that is exactly what the new workforce is looking for, right? So there will be many opportunities. But the big keyword for the new workforce will be the creativity and human experience that AI is falling short at again. So my experiences with AI is that it's just good at what a computer expected to do, and humans are not computers. So humans will still be need to solve human problems. So a case in point is, so the unemployment rate is at a historic low right now, and modern tech has not taken away our jobs in any form. But the only sector that is shedding jobs here and there are the big techs that are making the AI. So the joke is on them, actually. They've trained or developed something that can do their work, and they're being replaced. It's the creative sector that the AI actually tries to have a foothold, but it's not really doing it because it can't do those human things. So, in order to find new opportunities, please ask yourself what it takes to be human, and the answer will hopefully will follow. And if you're a very creative young generation, I have great hopes for that.
All right, thank you so much. And I think we found the key to find how we can maintain our jobs here in the studio. All right, thank you so much, Ju-young.
Thank you.
Thanks. Nice talking to you.
So what it takes to be human, those are the few words we have to remember in order for AI not to be replacing them. Could you relate to that, Walter?
Well, I hope so.
You want your job, yeah.
But that's exactly right. Is like I mentioned before, and as the doctor mentioned, the social aspect, the understanding social cues as well, is something very important and only something that I think at the moment humans can do. And it will be a very long time before I think AI can read a person's emotions, a person's social cues, etc.
And I was really very happy to hear that AI can't catch us up on creativity, because I think creativity is so unique. It's only up for us. What did you think?
Because I am very creative. I'm just glad that after listening to the doctor, my job will not be at risk for now. For now, and until I die. So I'm a little content for now.
But in order for us to do that, we need to keep working on ourselves.
Exactly.
And before we continue our talks, let's also hear from our global viewers. So we asked what jobs they have and whether they think AI can replace them. So take a look at the screen to find 3. Benny said, I was a call center agent before, and I'm currently concerned for my former colleagues at my former job that they'll be replaced by AI. Jiawei Ki said, I'm currently a healthcare support worker. I don't worry about my job getting replaced by AI. My job involves feeding and cleaning disabled or elderly patients at home. Aging populations will require more people like Jiawei. And I saw news that Japan is hiring lots of careers from Indonesia. It shows that my job is in great demand in the future. Cool Yoshi said, I work as a software developer and am not worried at all. AI can write code, but it still requires a pilot who has the technical capacity to guide it and also correct any mistakes it makes. Anyways, I tried ChatGPT and I feel like it has a really, really long way to go. And these were some comments that we could relate to because we've been talking about that throughout our discussion. And now I'd like to bring us to our final thoughts. I think it's not just us having to prepare for AI taking over the job market. Actually, the government and companies should also take big part and have exit plans for those who might be potentially replaced. So Ki-hoon, do you agree?
I can't agree more. At the end of the day, humans are the ones who made AI in the first place, so I think we need to take more responsibility to supporting our own race rather than, developing more on AI, trying to create more creative, these efficient computers. And the last thing I want to say is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Leave it the way it is.
I love it. What about you, Walter?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Like a world without workers, human workers, could most likely crash civilization. So I think we need to find ways where everyone is still getting their work done by themselves rather than by AI. Like for me, I have to make sure that later on in life, if there are going to be those sort of robots, that they follow the 4 rules of being a robot, and that is a robot may not injure a human being. The second rule, a robot must obey the orders given by humans, so listen to me. So third rule, a robot must protect its own existence, but the most important, a robot may not allow a human being to come into harm.
Exactly, because AI should be a handy tool, a helper as it is, but it shouldn't be replacing human beings. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you topics that young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Park Ki-hoon.
It's always a pleasure.
And thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you next week. We are News Generation.
The Globalists. Where does